Key contest at Carrow Road awaits in the Sky Bet Championship as Norwich City attempt to kickstart a possible playoff push and Stoke City seek to extend the gap between themselves and the relegation zone. Norwich sit right in the middle of the pack at the moment. 11 wins, 11 draws and 11 defeats from their 33 games so far. Stoke start 9 points and 7 places behind their opponents, but they come to Carrow Road off the back of a confidence-increasing success over Swansea City last Saturday. 2 wins in the Potters' last 3 league games now under Mark Robins. That's 1 more than they managed in the previous 15 to improve their prospects of staying in the Championship. It's a fixture Norwich have had the better of lately, unbeaten in their last 8 meetings with Stoke, including 3 successive victories at Carrow Road, where the Potters haven't prevailed since October of 2018, their only victory in their last 8 visits to these parts. Mixed set of results, though, for the home team here in the first 2/3 of the season. Indeed, consistency has proved elusive all campaign for the Canaries, but they remain only 5 points adrift of the playoff position, so the possibilities persist to make this a season to remember in pursuit of a Premier League return. Beaten playoff semi-finalists, of course, last season, and a club promoted to the top flight 7 times in their history. A joint record 5 times going up to the Premier League. Work to do this season, certainly, if they're to give themselves a chance of celebrating in May. They'll sense their opportunity, though, against Stoke City today, who remain stranded in the bottom half of the table, but on the up potentially after those 2 wins in the last 3, including that significant success against Swansea when they came from behind a week ago. Victors at Hull City as well in their previous away trip. The defeat at Bristol City in between. It's been a slow process since Mark Robins became their 3rd different manager of the season, but signs recently that they are heading in the right direction. And we'll look for confirmation of that at Carrow Road this afternoon. Mark Robins, the Stoke City boss, back on familiar territory, of course. The one-time Norwich striker famously played for them in that UEFA Cup campaign in the early 1990s. So long associated with Coventry City in this division. He was the Championship's longest-serving manager before departing that post back in November. Wasn't out of work for long. The Stoke boss since New Year's Day. Getting key players back from injury recently as well. So they do come to Carrow Road with rather more confidence than might have been the case until recent weeks. As Norwich fans probably not quite sure what to expect today. Their team have proved capable of taking on and beating the best, but have also served up some desperately disappointing results over the course of the campaign. When they're good, they tend to be very good. When they're bad, it has got ugly. Who knows what today will have in store. Just 2 wins in their last 8 matches in all competitions now, 2 in 7 in the Championship. For a side that's only lost 2 of their first 12 in this division this term. 3 games without a win has again seen Norwich City lose ground in the push for the playoffs. Stoke still have work to do to pull clear of trouble. So tight is the Championship this term across much of the division, but every result matters much. Every point can make a big difference. Despite recent disappointments, Norwich remain within reach of the top 6 if they can find their form. But they know that Stoke have been showing those signs of the improvement required to prevent the pressure of a relegation battle in the final third of the campaign. Both come into this with belief, but on current form, it could be a close one to call.
Well, let's take a look at
Norwich City make 3 changes from last week's 1-1 draw at Hull City. Callum Doyle misses his first championship game of the season. He starts a 2-match ban for 10 yellow cards. So Jose Cordoba comes in at centre-back. Marcelino Núñez is fit to return in midfield and takes the place of Manchester City loanee Jacob Wright. But Kenny McLean and Emiliano Marcondes are still missing. January signing Matej Jurasek has joined the list of absentees with a thigh problem. So Lewis Dobbin starts instead. Up front, Josh Sargent now has 5 goals in 5 games, whilst Borja Sainz remains the Championship's top scorer, despite the last of his 15 goals coming back in November. 3 changes as well for Stoke from last Saturday's success against Swansea. Ender Stevens returns at left-back ahead of Jordan Thompson. Wouter Berger misses out with the knee injury suffered against the Swans a week ago. So Tatsuki Seko is recalled in midfield, as is Lewis Baker, rewarded for scoring as a sub from inside his own half last week, with a return to the starting lineup as Lewis Kumas drops to the bench, which is bolstered by the fit again Ben Wilmot and Sam Gallagher, both back in the matchday squad. No Ben Gibson, though, back at his former club. Scored from 62 yards out last week, did Lewis Baker, to grab the headlines in that success against Swansea. It was the 3rd goal in stoppage time that settled it for them. They'd fallen behind just past the hour mark in a match of real magnitude, and now they look for these back-to-back victories against Norwich, who have Marcelino Núñez fit again after a latest injury absence. Ankle problem has sidelined him over the course of the last couple of weeks. He's only played actually in 2 of the previous 7 league matches before today. First choice win fit though, as he is in midfield, which is still missing Kenny McLean through illness, and Emiliano Marcondes not yet past fit to return from injury. John Busby in charge today. 20 championship games to his name already this season, his 5th campaign in this division. Taking charge of Stoke City for the first time this season, and for only a 2nd Norwich City game, having overseen their defeat at Swansea in September. And Victor Johansson, who again sports the captain's armband for Stoke City today, has been in fabulous form for them. Probably their player of the season so far, but it speaks much about the defensive issues that they have had. Looking to turn the tables on a Norwich side who've been free scoring for most of the campaign. A little bit of a false start here as Stoke City wait to get the game underway. Both sides in their traditional colours. Kick-off at Carrow Road. 9 points between the clubs, but recent results make this closer to call. Really is set up beautifully. Stoke on the front foot straight away. Junior Chamadu, forward from full-back, is the one trying to provide the cross, which was not cleared convincingly at all. So Stoke have the ball back in dangerous territory, and an early glimpse of goal for Lewis Baker. Scorer from inside his own half last week, wasn't quite able to trouble the target from much closer range here, having been picked out by Chamadu. Cameroonian's cross steered just across the face of goal by Lewis Baker, recalled of course from that lone spell at Blackburn. One of the first bits of business that Mark Robins did when he stepped in as manager. He will have a decision to make on Baker's longer-term future, given that he is one of 8 senior players out of contract in the summer. It did appear when he was sent out on loan to Ewood Park for the season originally that he might have played his last game for Stoke City, but he's featured prominently since his return. Back in the starting lineup today. Ashley Phillips and Michael Rose combine in returning it to Johansson. His form since his move from Rotherham has seen him become established as Sweden's first choice goalkeeper. Played every game for them in the Nations League in the autumn, which will hope to keep him busy today. Bahova. Cordoba is the one deputising at centre-back for Callum Doyle. He'd been an ever-present since his loan move from Manchester City, until starting a 2-match suspension this afternoon. Picked up his 10th yellow card of the campaign last week. So he will also miss the upcoming match at Blackburn a week today. Booya Saints might be in here. Does open up for him, support either side. Plays the pass for Nunez, and a fraction away. Marcelino Nunez was very close, and will probably feel that he should have opened the scoring from there. Stoke certainly stretched early on and left somewhat exposed. Booya Saints had Sargent up with him, Dobbin as well, but he opted to pick out Nunez. And he's just pulled it across goal and wide. 4 goals so far this season for the Chilean. And that probably should have been 5. That one will be gathered up by Angus Gunn. But the first big chance of note is a Norwich City chance, one that Marcelino Nunez wasn't able to take. Stoke City survived the scare. They've always carried an attacking threat at Norwich throughout the course of the season. Only the leaders, Leeds United, have scored more goals in this season's championship. They're also the only team to have scored more home goals than Norwich. They've managed 37 from 16 previous games here at Carrow Road in this division this season. Shane Duffy wants to go longer, looking for the run of Sargent. Johansson could take no chances, taking evasive action as the flag went up anyway. Josh Sargent, very much a form player right now, 5 in 5 in the championship. He's hit his stride again after that injury-enforced absence earlier in the season. Missed 14 matches after groin surgery. He's only 1 short now, though, of double figures for the season. And he's within 6 of the championship's top scorer, teammate Booya Saints. Still leading the goal-scoring stakes with 15, despite failing to score in any of his last 10 appearances. And he served that 6-match suspension in between as well, from which he's only recently returned. Here he is again. He looks up for this right from the start today, but there's no free kick for him. Stoke City have it back. In by Seko for Bae Jun-ho. Ender Stevens in support of the attack. He's slinging the cross just over the head of Baker. Ali Al-Hamadi in there as well is the focal point really of the attack, the Stoke City number 9. But it doesn't reach him, and it's harmlessly behind this time. Lively start though in the first 5 minutes. Playing a more advanced midfield role, isn't he, Lewis Baker, just behind Al-Hamadi really. And it's effectively a 4-2-3-1 from Mark Robbins today. A wider role for Andrew Moran than we've seen of late. Interesting to note, Bae Jun-ho back on the left-hand side as well, which is his preferred flank, and where we saw the best of him when he switched there against Swansea last week, going on to score his first goal of the season in that 3-1 win. Jakob Sorensen getting a foot in. There's Mahovo. Back to Jakob Lungi Sorensen. Booya Saints took a tumble under pressure from Seko and wins the free kick that Anis Ben Slimani takes quickly. Shane Duffy has plenty ahead of him. There was Fisher, forward from fullback, comes back the way of Kellen Fisher here. Marcelino Nunez is wider still. And time to size up the cross, which is gathered up by Johansson without undue alarm. Eventful opening to the game for the returning Marcelino Nunez. His minutes are having to be managed a little bit at the moment. Hopeful of having both McLean and Marcondes fit to return shortly. Dobbin will try and chase this one down. Dealt with by Rose. And Stevens coming under pressure as well. And Stoke will expect that from the home side. Norwich looking to press high whenever they have the chance to do so. And Stevens here with the throw. Has missed the last couple of league games. Coming back in at left-back today. It's been a role that has rotated really throughout the course of the campaign. Eric Bocat and Lyndon Gooch, currently sidelined, have both had spells playing that position. Jordan Thompson, a midfielder by trade, started there against Swansea last Saturday. Josh Wilson-Esbrand, who's on loan from Manchester City, was brought in to offer another alternative in that role. And he signed in January, but is unavailable today because of injury. Hansen with decent distance on the clearance. Al-Hamadi taking a touch to it. Now Moran with Baker on the move ahead of him. Chamadou. There's Ben Pearson. Great to see him back fit and starting games after such a lengthy injury absence. But Stoke have lost it here. Dobbin. Nunez takes over, slips it into space for Boya Sainz, has Sargent in the middle, and it's a vital touch from Ashley Phillips to turn it away from trouble. Taking the acclaim of his teammates for the part that he played in dealing with the danger there. Otherwise, Sargent was set to score. Sainz unselfish in trying to find him rather than going directly for goal himself, which he might have been tempted to do. Foot in from the on-loan Spurs centre-back. The England under-20 international, Ashley Phillips. Has been the first choice pick in that Stoke City defence for the last 20 games or so, really, now. Missing Ben Gibson against his former club through injury today. Ben Wilmot is back on the bench after an absence of his own. Corner to come, Marcelino Nunez for Norwich City. He's out only as far as Fisher. Nunez again. Looking for Sorensen. He's actually kept it in and got away from Ender Stevens. There's Baker back in his own box to help it partially clear, but it could yet come straight back at Stoke. And Slimani getting in a little bit of a tangle there with Al-Hamadi, who felt he should have had a free kick. The officials felt otherwise. They're content to let it continue with the Canaries still on the ball. Marcelino Nunez. There's Lewis Dobbin. He was the first of the January signings on loan from Aston Villa. He'd only just recalled him from a temporary spell at West Bromwich Albion in this division in the first half of the season, for whom he started only once. 16 appearances off the bench in the Championship in the first half of the campaign for the Baggies. It's the 7th Norwich City start already for Lewis Dobbin. And ball over the top for Boya Sainz, who probably thought he was offside there. And stretching to try and control it. November the 30th, the last time that he was on the score sheet. The 15th time in this season's Championship, still more than anybody else. That goal here against Luton remains his most recent. That might come for Al-Hamadi. And stayed down after that. Job to play on around him and try and bring it clear with Callum Fisher. Marcelino Nunez has just overrun it. First season in charge for Johannes Hoftorp. Still very much a work in progress as he sets about reducing the average age of this Norwich City squad. The likes of Grant Hanley and Ashley Barnes departing in the winter window. Young players from all across Europe and beyond brought in, with an eye not just on this season. Here's Sargent, the form player right now, finding Fisher. In first time from Kellen Fisher, and he might get another go yet. Leaves it for Nunez instead. He will claim the free kick, and it has been given against Lewis Baker. This is in a very useful position for the home side. It was just caught from behind. It was Marcelino Nunez by Baker. Nunez, having won it, is going to take it. Real fans' favourite he's become here, his third season now with Norwich City. What can he conjure up for the Canaries? Marcelino Nunez went directly for goal. He had plenty of other options in the penalty area. Tried to catch out the keeper and didn't quite have his angle right. Wasn't too far away, but Johansson, I think, knew straight away that he wasn't going to be required. Wide enough, wasn't it, from this angle? Frustrating little spell of the season he's had with those knocks and niggles recently. Marcelino Nunez. Now, chance on here, maybe. The goalkeeper's come a long way, and, well, although he didn't get there, Angus Gunn, his presence was still important in making that more difficult than it might have been for Al Hamadi. But he's still breathing a sigh of relief, I'm sure, as to how it ended. Bit of confusion for Cordoba. Although Al Hamadi did reach it ahead of the goalkeeper, it was that touch that took it away. The on-loan Ipswich Town player facing Norwich City today, just to add a little bit of extra edge to his afternoon. Scored on his debut against Hull City. Player who appeared 11 times off the bench in the Premier League earlier in the season, before that loan move. And promotion from this division with Ipswich last season, having signed halfway through it. But he couldn't trouble the target, and we are yet to see an effort on target in the opening quarter of an hour, in the game in which Norwich have dominated in terms of possession. 2/3 of it so far. Sorensen. He's getting a little run in the side again at the moment under his compatriot, Johannes Hoftorp. It's the fifth game in the last 6 in the Championship in which he's featured. Norwich have given that one away to Bae-Jun Ho. He wasn't able to make them pay. Straight through it goes to Gunn. And Norwich will come back through Sorensen. Ben Slimani wider. And it's Ben Slimani again with the crossfield ball for Kellen Fisher. If he can reach it, it's a big if. And it will just skip away from the fullback, who was the furthest forward in pursuit of that. He has become the regular at right back recently, Kellen Fisher. 9 straight start in the Championship, keeping Jack Stacey out of the sight. Mark Robins, as I mentioned, back on familiar territory. Still in the early stages of his Stoke City reign. Back at the club for whom he featured as a player for 3 years, between 1992 and 1995, for whom he scored 20 league goals, having joined from Manchester United before leaving for Leicester. It's a 10th match in charge of Stoke in all competitions in total today for Mark Robins. Appointed on New Year's Day, he's won 3 of the first 9 and lost only twice. His predecessor, of course, Narcis Pelak, only had 19 games in the job before Robins replaced him to become their 3rd manager of the season already. Campaign that started with Stephen Schumacher still in charge. Here goes Dobbin, who's covered good ground for Norwich City. Before his progress was ended by Rose, went back by Sorensen. Referee saw nothing wrong with that. Here's Fisher. Marcelino Nunez. Shane Duffy. Cordoba. His first Norwich City season since he signed in the summer from Levski Sofia. Starting in the Championship for the first time since the middle of December, when he was sent off against Sunderland. He's had to be patient to get his place back. Sargent did well with a hold-up play. Ben Slimani forward. Sargent gets it back, slips it into space for Fisher here to have a go. Never close enough from Callum Fisher. Found himself in a promising position though, in search of what would have been his first ever senior goal. A finish maybe that hinted at white. He was able to take that touch to try and set himself. But he was never confident with what followed. Second season since signing from Bromley, for whom he was their player of the season a couple of campaigns ago. His rapid rise continues. It looked like it was going to work out rather well for Ben Slimani. Was then just caught by Chamadou. It's Ben Slimani who made his loan move from Sheffield United, a permanent one in January. And for the challenge on him, Chamadou is cautioned. First name taken by referee Busby today. And up against Borja Sainz this afternoon. That will make the task of Junior Chamadou that much more treacherous from here. Marcelino Nunez standing over it along with Slimani, but it looks like it will be Nunez to take. And it is. And he lost it directly up towards the edge of the penalty area. And there was space there for Lewis Dobbin to bring it down, but he couldn't quite pick the pass with precision, and instead Lewis Baker can bring it clear for Stoke City. Stevens to Michael Rose. The former Coventry City centre-back reunited in Staffordshire with Mark Robins, who has picked him regularly since taking the job. In fact, he's starting a 6th successive game in all competitions, is Rose. And there will be pressure on his place again with Ben Wilmot fit once more and on the bench. Been available for any of those previous 5 games through injury. Notable that they're missing Wouter Berger as well, who went off last week, took a knock to the knee against Swansea. It wasn't as bad as they initially feared it might be, and he has actually been back on the grass, said Mark Robins, training this week, but hasn't wristing today. And it's Ben Slimani. Aimed towards Kellen Fisher, was telegraphed somewhat and cut out by Bae Jun-ho. Naseka. Baker battling for it, felt he was fouled, and the referee lets it go on. With Sorensen. Strong Danish contingent at the club now since the arrival of Hoftorup in the summer, but Sorensen precedes that by a significant margin. He's in his 5th season already at Carrow Road now. Ben Slimani well advanced. And it comes back his way here in a position of real promise as he takes on Chamadou. He did well in the circumstances. Needing to be careful after that early yellow card. Under pressure in his own penalty area, but helping deal with the danger. There was plenty of it when Anas Ben Slimani squared up to take him on. It was coolly dealt with by the Cameroonian in the end. Second season since his signing from Colchester United. Has been getting a regular game at right back. Not just recently, but really for the majority of the season. London-born Cameroonian international with 4 caps for his country. Last of those over a year ago at the last Africa Cup of Nations. Well, we're halfway through the first half. Nothing to separate them yet at Carrow Road. Lengthy trip today for those from Staffordshire. Around about 200 miles. Too much on that one for Fisher. And it hasn't been a productive trip, has it, for the Potters recently? Losing their last 3 visits to Carrow Road. Haven't won any of the last 8 meetings between the clubs home and away. Although Hoftorp's team were held at the Bet365 when they met earlier this season in a 1-1 draw. Both the goals coming right at the end of the first half in October. They did do the double over Stoke City last season. 1 goal between them here. Jack Stacey scored it also right at the end of the first half, but there were 3-0 winners at Stoke in March. Nunez with the switch of play. Here's Lucien Mahovo. A teenager getting a run in the team at left back since his summer arrival from Notts County. 6th straight start for him. Keeping out Ben Crissini in that position right now. And Cordoba. Duffy. Every minute of all but 1 game in the Championship this season as Shane Duffy. He's started all of them so far. The absence of Doyle today. He's the only one now left who can say that in the Norwich City side. Forward by Duffy. And towards the run of Boya Sainz, who bent it well to pick up possession here. And finds Marcelino Nunez. But blocked away by Tatsuki Seko. And still dominating possession, and you would expect that statistic to continue, really. And they find an end product, though. Dobbin out wider for Mahovo. Just had it taken off him. Chamadou will clear it. Sorensen on the stretch. And it came back his way, but beyond both he and Cordoba, who recovered the situation well up against Ali Al-Hamadi. Because the Iraq international did have the head start there on Cordoba, albeit only briefly. Capped 21 times by Panama. Here's Cordoba. Playing most recently in Bulgaria with Levski Sofia until his signing in the summer. City certainly looking around the globe for reinforcements, casting the net far and wide. We're happy, I think, with the business done in the most recent winter window and strengthening the squad. Hugo's well advanced, comes all the way through for Fisher, trying to lay it off for Marcelino Nunez. Fisher again, Nunez again, and this time he will deliver. And that was close from Dominic. Some distance out when he met it, but he had Johansson worried for a moment. And the applause of the home fans and the boss on the touchline. The Canaries try and find that cutting edge. It was a valiant attempt from the Aston Villa loanee. Useful ball whipped in to pick him out by Nunez as well. Just a one goal so far since his January signing for Lewis Dobbin, which came in the 5-1 home win here against Swansea City at the end of January. Dobbin, by the way, born in Stoke. Came through the ranks though at Everton, and only joined Aston Villa back in June for £10 million before being allowed out on loan, first to West Brom and now to Norwich. And he's come as close as anyone really for the Canaries in what we've seen so far, as both teams take the time out because of the injury issue. Plenty of observations to pass on. The concern for Stoke is that it was Pearson who was down, given the fact he's only just returned from 10 months out through injury. Such a frustrating spell on the sidelines. Injured actually against Norwich late last season, missed the last 8 games of the previous campaign. Had surgery on his hamstring in the summer, was set to return in September and suffered a setback. It was only last week that he returned to the starting lineup against Swansea. Wasn't fit to feature at all under the previous manager, Narcis Pelak. Robin's hoping to be the beneficiary of his experience. Made sure they didn't rush him back. Played a couple of games for the under-21s to try and improve his match sharpness before being considered for selection again in the first team. Lengthy wait here to get the game back underway again. I think John Busby now, a little belatedly, is happy. So Johansson will clear it away. Here's Dobbin. Pearson, by the way, by his own admission, not the best of patience during his spell on the sidelines. Boyer's Saints here for Norwich in full flow. Mahovo taking over, looking for Dobbin. Plenty back in red and white, and potentially the counter could be on here. Fast feet from Moran, finding Bejun-Ho. Al-Hamadi ahead of him. Fisher's gone with him, halting his progress. Support arriving now from Lewis Baker. Baker again, combining with Stevens. And again, Baker trying to bend one. An urge to shoot by the Stoke fans every time he gets the ball. After that remarkable goal last week against Swansea, described as David Beckham-esque by his boss. Just inside his own half when he scored it to settle the issue against the Swans. It's a very deliberate attempt to do so as well. Incredible technique. Mahovo. Cordoba. Was able to leave that one for his goalkeeper in the knowledge that Dobbin wasn't going to reach it. Fisher. Nunez, lovely ball, slipped through for Lewis Dobbin, who scores wonderfully. Kept his composure, picked his spot, puts Norwich City in front. Delightfully Something to work with certainly now for the home side here. Lewis Dobbin scores the second goal of his temporary spell at the club. Wonderful ball that split the Stoke defence to find him from Marcelino Núñez. He still had a fair bit to do though here, but across the keeper and into the far corner. And some reward for Norwich for their early pressure and possession, perhaps at a stage of the game where it was starting to get a little scrappy. Maybe they weren't quite in the ascendancy any longer, but they are now, courtesy of that moment. Well, he didn't score in the Championship during that temporary stint at West Bromwich Albion in the first half of the season, but he's got a couple for the Canaries already. And he's scored against his home City side here to put them in front against Stoke. Let's see what the visitors have got by way of a response then. Norwich had to come from behind at Hull last weekend. He lost the previous home game, disappointingly, against Preston, conceding the game's only goal just 5 minutes in. And in the previous home match before that, they conceded an equaliser in stoppage time against struggling Derby. So nobody will be taking anything for granted yet. They will be delighted at Dobbin's contribution. And the brilliant ball that found him from Marcelino Núñez split the Stoke City defence. He was, I think, on the books as a kid at Stoke, was Lewis Dobbin. Went to school next to the training ground. Everton snapped him up very early in his academy career, and the rest is history. On target against them today. Norwich keep it tight at the back. They may well feel they need another goal today because they've only managed one home clean sheet all season. And the victory here against Hull City back in October. They conceded in their last 12 home games in all competitions since then. So 1-0 not likely to be enough today, but it might just be the start. That's what they'll be hoping for, having made that breakthrough. That's an awkward one from Rose back to his goalkeeper. Johansson did well under pressure. Ender Stevens. Touch in there for Pearson. Switch of play finds Chamadou in space. And Pearson again. His third season at Stoke City now, but has yet to really kickstart this chapter of his career, primarily because of injuries. Chamadou with the ball in. Duffy was on the end of it. Waits for Boya Sainz. Came the way of him courtesy of Anis Ben Slimani, who'd continued his run in support as well. Instead to Sorensen. Here's Fisher. The stats so far would suggest that Norwich are value for this lead. They've been the dominant attacking force, but that one's given away straight to Junior Chamadou. It's the one Stoke City shot so far that we've seen. Dobbin scoring with the game's only on-target attempt thus far. There's Boya Sainz. Gets it back again, trying to dance his way through, and does squeeze his shot goalwards at the end of that, calling Johansson into action. Gets the save from the Spaniard in the end, does the Swedish goalkeeper, after Borja Sainz had threatened to take them all on and waltz his way through. So difficult to knock off the ball in situations like that. He was determined to ask the questions of the keeper. Chamadou did well to keep it in after the ball came at him awkwardly. Here's Phillips, square for Rose, now Ender Stevens. Only won one of their last 9 away games in the Championship for Stoke City. Success at Hull at the start of the month. Been stretched again there, but it's just too far in front of Josh Sargent, who made the run. Many victories on their travels this term. In the second tier have come at Plymouth, Blackburn, and that aforementioned taming of the Tigers. Eight times this season they failed to score on their travels. Need to find their threat today if they're to salvage something. Still a little too close to comfort to the relegation zone, despite 2 wins in the last 3. Stevenson didn't have a lot of time to assess his options there, facing his own goal. Duffy was under pressure as well, as is Kellen Fisher here. Marcelino Nunez. He dealt with it well. Try and turn defence into attack with the goal scorer, Lewis Dobbin. Opted to prioritise possession there. This did afford the visitors the chance to get back in their positions defensively. They've conceded the free kick. It's the Brighton loanee, Andrew Moran, has been penalised this time. Goes against him, up against Borja Sainz. Around the twice-capped Republic of Ireland international. He has sported his country's colours against England in November in the Nations League. Cordoba. Final 5 of the first half at Carrow Road. And it's been Slimani. Norwich with an element of control right now. Nunez. There's Mahovo. Borja Sainz. Marcelino Nunez. Almost back for Borja Sainz. That was certainly the intention. Agent Ho had done well and was making himself available for Al-Hamadi to try and return it his way. He was prevented from doing so by the Kellen Fisher foul. Stopped unfairly by the fullback. Clearly had a hold of his shirt right in front of the referee. Well, he was delighted with the spirit that Stoke showed, was Mark Robins last week, when they also went 1-0 behind much later in the game, actually, against Swansea, and turned it around in style. But it's a bigger ask to do that here at the home of Norwich City. It wasn't long ago, of course, that Swansea were in similar type of territory in the table to the Canaries before their alarming slide that cost Luke Williams his job off the back of that Stoke defeat. It's a Norwich season that could still go either way from here. The very definition of mid-table. Equal number of entries in the wins, draws and defeats column. 33 games into the season, 12th in the table. Still within striking distance of the playoffs, because they're not the only ones that have struggled for consistency in the Championship this season. Far from it. It's a precious commodity. Ender Stevens with the throw. Ho combining with Seko. Back in his preferred midfield position today. He did deputise actually at right back on his last start, Tatsuki Seko. First season since he signed for the J-League club, Kawasaki Frontale. Stevens. Now Baker. He started in that advanced role, but he has certainly been dropping deeper to try and get on the ball. Ben Pearson made his comeback against Cardiff City in the FA Cup off the bench after those 10 months out. Fourth round tie that they lost on penalties after a 3-3 draw. So it's full focus on the Championship from here for both of these sides. Ho on the move for Stoke City, trying to skip his way through. Seko looking to help him out as well. Bay's got it back. Phillips. Period of Potter's possession at the end of the half as they go in pursuit of parity. Seko again. Over the top for Stevens. Wasn't quite where he wanted it, but he will give chase to try and make something of it. Seko combining with Baker this time. Now Pearson. It's a better spell this for Stoke. Phillips joining in, up from centre-back as well. It's the first probably prolonged period of Stoke City possession in this part of the pitch that they've had. Pearson working it wider this time for Chamadou. Had Moran on the move ahead of him. Opts to go back in field to Ben Pearson instead. Here's Rose. Seko. Norwich's turn to work hard without the ball, as they are doing right now.
Officials indicating there is a minimum of 3 minutes remaining.
3 additional minutes added on at the end of the first half. Into the first of those. Norwich content at the moment to let Stoke have it here, knowing that the visiting side have to try and force the issue, and they might be in behind, but too much on that for Chamadou. We've made the run forward from full-back. Angus not extended, and he is yet to be extended in this first half. Still no shot on target from Stoke City. It's given away though. Pearson trying to pick the pass for Moran, who has some space here. And there's the chance for the equalising goal. Baker levels it up at 1-1. Some response in first half stoppage time from Stoke City, who are back on terms. And Lewis Baker, who scored from inside his own half last week, has another one from right in front of the opponent's goal today. And it might actually matter even more.
Goals for Stoke City, number 8, Lewis Baker.
2-2 for the player recalled from Blackburn Rovers in January by Mark Robins, who's playing perhaps for his long-term future with Stoke City. And he's starting to have a significant say. Norwich did have a player down as the build-up continued here. And Baker had time to take that touch to set himself up to score the game's equalising goal. No foul adjudged to have happened. Lovely ball from Moran. And Baker in enough space to be able to tee himself up. and turn it home for 1-1. And that will come as a shock to the system for Norwich City in a first half really that they had the better of, albeit Stoke were ending it strongly and do have their reward. And we're back to square one at 1-1. And Duffy is still down, having gone down in that move, which you could argue cost the Canaries. It's quickly closed down by Al-Hamadi, and then left out of position. Norwich caught short and made to pay by Lewis Baker, who also scored on opening day for Stoke City at Coventry, the winning goal before he went out on loan to Blackburn. Mark Robbins, who reportedly once tried to sign him for Coventry, was quick to bring him back and is reaping the rewards now. He only managed 1 goal for Blackburn in the first half of the season at Cardiff City in November. 2 in 2 for the Potters to get them back on terms at 1-1. And that injury to Duffy ensures that this first half will be extended a little further. But it's certainly changed the mood at Carrow Road heading towards the interval. Stoke scoring with their first attempt on target, with only their second shot of the game. And that changes the team talk, doesn't it, for Torrup? Norwich will have to do it all over again if they're to return to winning ways today. Duffy still yet to rejoin the action. Still waiting for his clearance to do so after that period of treatment. Only now is he beckoned back onto the field. Chase on for Dobbin. Michael Rose went with him. Well, the win to an extent was self-inflicted by Norwich, really. As the ball from Duffy went astray. Might have been harried into it, rushed into it somewhat by the presence of Al-Hamadi, but that's what he does, the Stoke City number 9. No moment's peace for any defender up against him. And we've seen just how effective that can be. There's Chamadou forward. Al-Hamadi will set off in pursuit of that. This time he puts the pressure on Cordoba. And that's going to be half-time. All action at the end of the first period. And a twist in the tail just before half-time. Lewis Dobbin having put Norwich City in front, and at that stage they looked value for the lead. Did the home side. Nicely taken goal against his home City side for Lewis Dobbin. But Lewis Baker with his second goal on successive Saturdays, getting Stoke City back level just before the break. And that does change the story significantly as the teams head for the tunnel. So welcome back, Stoke City re-emerging for the second half. Norwich City making a change. 1-1 at Carrow Road at the interval. The Al-Hamadi putting the pressure on, which helped Stoke score that equaliser. Shane Duffy's mistake was ruthlessly punished. Norwich have been in command at that point. It's they who have made the change. And Ante Srnac, the Croatian, has come on for the second half. As they look for more, as they look to re-establish their advantage. Norwich set to get the second half underway. Dobbin, who's made way, rather surprisingly. Must be an injury issue, you suspect. So here we go for the second half. Norwich did get that breakthrough goal just past the half hour, but it wasn't a lead they were able to take into this second period. Pegged back by Baker just before the break, so a real challenge to pick their heads up and go again for the home side. And Stoke look to win from behind for the second Saturday in succession. It would make a massive difference to their season if they could complete the comeback again today. It really does set up this second half. Ho the target here, and it will reach him. Kellen Fisher, the defender, with him. Stephens with the cross, out by Duffy. And Stephens again looking for options from the throw. Ho, who was Stoke's Player of the Year last season, despite not scoring his first goal of the campaign until February. They'll hope for something similar, a similar late-season run of form this time around after he got his first goal of this season in February, just last weekend. Duffy will certainly be disappointed, both at the fact he didn't get the free kick, but also, I'm sure, with his own part in the rather hurried clearance that was forced upon him by the presence of Al-Hamadi that led to that equaliser. Boy, science battling for that against Andrew Moran, and did well to win it. Too much traffic for him to negotiate. He felt he should have had the free kick. Might be academic though, because Norwich still have the ball with Lucien Mahovo, and now Anas Ben Slimani. Marcelino Nunez trying to reach it. First involvement for Sienats here. The summer signing from Raków in Poland, with whom they had really high hopes. Hasn't quite come off yet, that deal, but again, it's one like many that Norwich have made in the transfer market with an eye on the long term. First half of the season spent adjusting, really, to the English game, to the intensity of the Championship. Reported that they paid about £9 million for him. A significant outlay, certainly in the summer. There's Mahovo, furthest forward. Ben Slimani to Boya Sainz. Sienats might come back his way yet. Sargent's in there as well, and Sargent scores. And it's not taken Norwich City long to re-establish their lead. Double figures for this season for Josh Sargent, and 6 of those have come in his last 6 matches for Norwich's number 9. Just what his team needed. After the frustrating end to the first half, it's a super start to the second period for Norwich City. Well, Sargent hadn't scored, Sienats was threatening to as well. Nearly broke back his way. But it's a smart finish from a player in fine form in front of goal. Elements of fortune, certainly, how it came his way. But he more than made the most of it. Came back to him off Rose. Sargent initially with back to goal, was still able to find a way to spin and score, despite the presence of Ashley Phillips, who was with him. And his presence, actually, if anything, may be unsighted Johansson in goal, who couldn't get down in time to keep that one out. So the damage done just before the half-time whistle has been undone already. The teams trading goals either side of half-time. Norwich City have their platform back to push on towards the playoffs. They certainly missed him. 3 months, the best part of, he spent on the sidelines after groin surgery, missed 14 games. Double figures now, 10 for the Championship season. 6 in 6 for Sargent. Ho looking for Al-Hamadi. Seko slips. Certainly seemed to, the referee has stepped in. Wanting a word with both Tatsuki Seko and Josh Sargent to explain his intervention here. Just saw the foul there by Sargent. So a Stoke free kick in a useful position. Lewis Baker to Ben Pearson. Swerving strike is straight at Angus Gunn. But he might expect to be a bit busier in the second period. Straight at him from Seko, but it did bounce awkwardly just in front of him. It will go down, that one, as an effort on target. Those have been at a premium for Stoke City so far. Boy, Saints able to bring that down. Moran with him, Saints still able to get his shot away. But equally comfortable for Johansson at the other end. Troubling the goalkeeper with that from Boya Saints. Third straight start, having returned from that 6-match suspension. Possession presented straight to Marcelino Nunez. With Saints and Sargent were setting off in pursuit, but it was too strong for either of them. There's reported transfer interest in Boya Saints during the January window. Norwich were able to keep hold of their top scorer. He might have another decision to make in the summer when he'll have just a year left on his contract. Plenty of interest from clubs around Europe, including back home in Spain. Napoli, I think, were linked recently as well, under Antonio Conte. Never quite going to be able to keep that one in play. Ender Stevens for Stoke. Paige Ho making the run. It's a lovely weighted ball into his path. He'll square up to Duffy here. Paige Ho finds himself a little outnumbered. Cordoba's clearance is only as far as Pearson. He's able to take it down. And the rasping drive wasn't too far away. But nor was it quite close enough for Stoke City. Pearson looks to announce his return from injury with a return to the score sheet. It's been Slimani. Here's Boya Saints. Pearson dealt with the danger that he posed on that occasion. Quite for Seko, but it will come for Pearson. Stoke steadying themselves after the early concession, going in pursuit of a second equaliser. Chamadou might get another go to deliver here as it comes back his way. Mahovo helped out by Ben Slimani. Sorensen for Saints. Norwich are being pinned back here deep in their own territory. Mahovo needed a couple of goes at that before being able to complete the clearance. Up towards Josh Sargent. Real tussle between he and Phillips, who stood his ground there, got a foot in. Sargent wasn't giving enough either. Got some battle between the two of them. Now Chamadou looking for Al-Hamadi through the middle. Too far in front of him. Already posing more of a threat, Stoke City, in this second half. And Slimani. Kellen Fisher was in some space. Fisher's ball in, hasn't been dealt with. Comes all the way through towards Mahogo. And it didn't miss that far post by much. One full back to the other. As Norwich look to put some daylight between the teams. Well, it's the sort of service we're used to seeing from Fisher. It should have been dealt with, really, before it reached Mahogo, and it's an excellent save from Johansson. You've got a touch to turn that away, otherwise I think it would have ended up the other side of that post. Corner to come for the Canaries. Duffy up from the back, Sargent's in there, got something on it, nearly for Cordoba. There's Bertrand Ho. Good game this at the moment. Both teams fancying it. Both teams carrying more of a threat. Here's Moran. Hoisted it too high, though. Because he did have a couple, both Al-Hamadi and Baker, in the penalty area to aim at. Third straight start for Andrew Moran, and he's played a variety of different roles in the Stoke City side. Has been a regular under 3 different managers so far. But we've seen him in a more defensive-minded central midfield role. We've seen him as a number 10, and at times out wide. And he's contributed really wherever he's played. Duffy selling Cordoba short. Al-Hamadi was there first, and it might break for Baker, who's around the goalkeeper and slots it in for 2-2. But the flag's gone up, and the celebrations for Stoke City cut short before they'd ever really got started. And frustrated Lewis Baker will continue the conversation with the assistant, but not for long, because here come Norwich City at the other end, and Boya Saints was waiting, and it's touched just wide by the defender in front of him. Well, it was close, but Michael Rose needed to get that touch to it. Otherwise, Saints surely would have scored. Another ball in from Fisher. Relief for Michael Rose that he didn't score the own goal, but in doing so, in taking that action, he has possibly prevented the Norwich goal. As they still reflect on the one that got away at the other end. Incredible passage of play. And Al-Hamadi, who was heavily involved in that one, is still down. Might just give us a chance to catch our breath and take stock of the situation again. So finely balanced this match at the moment, isn't it? Norwich threatening to go further clear, but Stoke certainly looking capable of levelling it. And Lewis Baker, for a moment, must have thought he had done, only to be thwarted by the flag. Did the ball actually come off the defender? No doubt he was in an offside position, but he's claiming that it came to him off the Norwich player. That one doesn't count. Stoke are plotting potential changes. The likes of Miljan Manhoef and Lewis Kumas have been warming up recently. Cordoba was caught in possession there. Duffy did him no favours at all with the ball back to him. Did it actually come off Duffy? Took it coolly. But wasn't able to celebrate as that flag went up. Do you think, had VAR been in operation in the Championship, they might have reviewed that one? So Stoke are going to make the change here. No surprise, an hour in, that Ben Pearson is coming off. His minutes still being managed, still building up his match fitness after so long on the sidelines. Would probably have been planned to play only for an hour anyway. Emilian Manhoef, also on his way back from an injury layoff, is on into the action instead. It's not the only change though, because Lewis Koumas has been called for as well. He will take the place of Al Hamadi. Double alteration from Mark Robins. But first, his team have some defensive duties to take care of. Looking to defend this Marcelino Nunez corner. Cordoba might reach it, and, well, he did prod it goalwards without conviction, really. Probably wasn't expecting to get a second bite at that. He has already opened his Norwich City account this season as the centre-back. He scored in the home defeat here against Burnley in the middle of December. Broke back favourably for him, up against Chamadou, but couldn't trouble the target. So a little bit of a reshuffle from Stoke after those substitutions. Manhoef a wide player, and it looks like Koumas will play through the middle. Really is the centre forward in this side, not his natural position, the Liverpool loanee. Flag was up. The danger disappears again. The flag has been raised fairly frequently recently, to Norwich City's relief as they try and hold on to this lead. Again here for Gunn. Reaches halfway, and Josh Sargent with the clearance. Marcelino Nunez underneath that one. And it breaks back his way, trying to pick the pass for Borja Sainz, cut out by Chamadou. Returned to Johansson under pressure from Sargent, as is Phillips from Sainz. And Chamadou from Sianyats. Then goes Bajan Ho. He was caught by Callum Fisher. Stoke looking to take that quickly. Prevented from doing so. And they still have the South Korean down. They really are hoping that he can kick on again, as he did a similar stage of last season to be named their Player of the Year in what was his first season at the club. Let's have another look at this. Who did it come off last? Because that is crucial in the circumstances. It will be debated long and hard afterwards. Ultimately, it matters not anymore, because the decision went against Stoke City. The flag did go up. And if there is any perceived sense of injustice, they need to use that as fuel in their pursuit of parity. He could be stretched here. Fisher took the pass from Cernats. He's made his way into the middle. Sargent has gone down in the middle off the ball, which Norwich City still have, with Callum Fisher again. Now Borja Sainz. Nunez in support. Sainz goes infield to Anis Ben Slimani instead. Josh Sargent has stayed down after all of that. Still his goal that separates them at the moment, as Hoff Torup's team attempt to return to winning ways. Signed a 3-year contract in the summer. Previously in charge of Nordsjælland in Denmark. Just gone past 100 matches as a manager in his career at the age of 35. There will be some concern for his striker right now with the way that Josh Sargent has stayed down and the length of time that Josh Sargent has stayed down. And this is why it was off the ball. And coming together with Ashley Phillips, who did make a movement towards him to try and block him off. On the evidence of that. Been a big battle all afternoon long between those two. Sargent is another that will certainly have his suitors if Norwich City don't end up being promoted back to the Premier League. And it's still a very big ask, given the position that they're in at the moment. Not beyond the realms of possibility, and if they are to make those playoffs and give themselves a chance of going at least one better than last season, then Josh Sargent has a huge role to play, and is currently playing that role impressively and scoring the goals to keep the Canaries in contention. And try and run this one off. Still doesn't look particularly happy. Player who went to the World Cup and to the Copa America with the USA. Been linked actually with potential interest from the current leaders, Leeds United, should they return to the Premier League, to be reunited with the manager who signed him for Norwich in the first place, Daniel Farke. He's reportedly keen on a reunion. Here's Cordoba. Norwich, of course, did lose key players last summer as well, after that playoff semi-final defeat to Leeds United. And a rebuilding process was required in the summer. A number of young players coming in. Stoke City have been rebuilding really as the season has gone on. Mark Robins the latest, tasked with trying to steer them clear of trouble. That's his immediate priority, and then they'll look to kick on again in the summer. 7th consecutive season back in the Championship for Stoke this year, and they are yet to finish above 14th position in the table since they came down after a decade in the Premier League. So much potential in these parts for both of these clubs, really. Both with the Premier League previous. He's come taking his time. Quarter of the contest remaining at Carrow Road, still in the balance. Both sides have seemed susceptible at the back, certainly. Here goes Boya Sainz, that usually spells trouble. Mahova, slight deflection on the cross. Ensured it was just a fraction behind its intended targets. But Sainz has it back. Stoke have plenty back behind the ball. Marcelino Nunez. Boya Sainz with the flick. Sargent back for Sainz again. It might come for Fisher here, and it does. Delivers first time as he had to do. Stoke had the players back to deal with it on that occasion. Slight change of role for Andrew Moran since those two substitutions, and we're going to see a Norwich change here. Marcelino Nunez is coming off. He's back in the team after that knock to the ankle today, so again it's not a big surprise that he hasn't gone the distance. He's been playing his part. Jacob Wright, whose place he took in the starting lineup, is on. Deadline day loan signing from Manchester City. He'd started the previous couple of games, the 19-year-old. They do have the option to sign him permanently in the summer at the end of that loan deal. And they beat off significant interest from elsewhere in the Championship to bring him to Carrow Road. He's been heavily pursued, I think, by Swansea City before opting for Norfolk instead. It's a player who has actually played for Manchester City in the Champions League a year ago. Cordoba will get it back from Sorensen. White's first involvement, but he was under pressure. Rose cushions the header down for Ender Stevens to return it to Victor Johansson. He's been some signing, hasn't he, the goalkeeper? £750,000 paid to Rotherham for him in the summer on that 3-year contract. He would be worth significantly more than that now, I think it's fair to say. Cordoba had to be careful with that one and was. No chances taken. And of continued to pose more of the threat with the attempts at goal and the number on target of Norwich City. But their lead is still anything but a comfortable one going into these last 20 minutes. Still just the one home clean sheet for them all season. That rather wretched run will go on after the concession just before half-time, but it was some response from them, wasn't it, to re-establish that lead almost straight away. And they come trying to add to it. Boya Saints helping it on to Sargent. And it's still with Josh Sargent. And he's found the finish as well, with a thumping effort. And I wonder if that might just finish off Stoke City. Josh Sargent at the double. He does not miss at the moment. This time Stoke City pay the price for standing off him, for allowing him to get his shot away. And his remarkable run in front of goal goes on. 7 in 6 now for Sargent. Boya Saints, who played his part, albeit a little inadvertently there. If it hadn't carried through to Sargent, Norwich may well have had the free kick anyway. Stoke had the bodies back in their own box, but they still afforded Sargent the space. Weren't necessarily expecting him to take it on from there, I don't think. With little backlift when striking it. And it's perfectly placed, and although the goalkeeper got a glove to it, the merest of touches to it, it flashed beyond Johansson. And Josh Sargent is the difference maker in this second half. And he's the one rapidly chasing down his teammate Boya Saints, potentially in the race for the Championship's Golden Boot. He's within 4 of him now. Saints one ahead of Leeds United's Joel Piroe going into today. And although the goals have dried up for the Spaniard recently, Sargent has stepped up and some to assume responsibility. And he's put his team in charge with that one. Million Manhoof for Stoke City. They still have a bit of time, but it's a long way back for them from here. Norwich, remember, unbeaten against Stoke in the last 8 meetings between the clubs, and in half of those they'd scored at least 3 goals. They've done that again today, which you suspect should be enough for them. His team on course to return to winning ways. The second top scorers at home in the Championship this season. And they're showing why. Josh Sargent is certainly showing why. As things stand in the live league table, it would close the gap on the playoffs back to 4 points. But his team at the other end of the table will be looking over their shoulders, 5 points clear of the bottom 3 in that relegation zone. And survived a few scares in recent seasons, Stoke, in staying up. Here's Manhoof with the ball forward, but too far forward. Very straight through to Gunn. Sargent on the hat-trick, prevented from reaching him by Phillips this time. Ender Stevens to Michael Rose. Stoke might still be reflecting on the one that got away when Baker had the ball in the net, which would have been 2-2 but for the offside flag. That's a lovely ball. Slipped into some space here, but the flag's gone up again against Kumats this time. Further frustration on the same side of the field for Stoke City. As I mentioned, it wasn't whether Baker was in an offside position that was in doubt when he stuck it away. It was who the ball came off before he got on the end of it. And it's been difficult to clarify from the evidence that we've seen so far. Which is why it's one that Stoke City just have to put behind them. But it's looking more and more like a potentially defining moment in the match. And for that, Norwich City deserve real credit. Josh Sargent in particular, for the part that he has played. He'd be up from 12th to 9th in the table as things stand with Norwich. Chamadou. But both sides have shown defensive vulnerabilities to suggest that the scoring is not maybe finished yet. Chamadou and Cordoba battling for that. Will be a corner. Stoke relieved to have Million Manhoef fit again. A year on since his arrival from Vitesse, he's become an important player in the Potteries.
Substitution for Stoke City, replacing number 3, Enda Stevens.
He's going to take this corner, but not until after the change has been made. Enda Stevens coming off. Another returning to the starting lineup today, and it's going to be the first of a double change. Jordan Thompson on in his place. It's a reversal of one of the alterations that Mark Robins made to his starting lineup today. And Bae Jun-ho brought off as well for the closing quarter of an hour. He's going to be replaced here by the returning Sam Gallagher. He's missed the last 6 championship games through injury. Brought in from Blackburn in the summer. Another boost for them to have him back. He's on for what remains. So here comes the corner from Manhoef. Goalkeeper wasn't getting it, Gunn having started to come and try and claim before that change of heart. And Gallagher nearly straight into the centre of the story. Let's have another look here. I think it did come off. Al-Hamadi looking at that is very close, isn't it? Very tough to call. But it may well be that it was the right call after all. He certainly won't think so. A major talking point, certainly. Here goes Boye Sainz. Joshua did well to keep it in, and then he was caught. Was he right on the touchline? No, it still have it with Sainz, and they still have it with Callum Fisher now. He's allowed to charge goalwards. Mahovo deflected and in. Game over surely now. It's the teenager Lucien Mahovo who takes the acclaim of his Canaries teammates. Big deflection though that saw it loop up over the goalkeeper and in. 4-1 Norwich City. And they are returning to winning ways in some style. No way back surely now for Stoke. Not much that Johansson could do about that one. He's never scored a senior goal, Lucien Mahovo. I think he may well be able to claim that. It was a huge deflection off Chamadou that took it in. But was it on target when it left his boot? Oh, maybe not. Maybe not, looking at that. Matters not really for Norwich City, but it will be frustrating for Mahovo. Even if he doesn't end up claiming the goal, he will certainly claim the credit for the part that he played. $200-mile trip back to the Potteries, and it will begin early for some of those travelling fans. Gallagher the target at the other end. Cordoba just got his foot to it first. Well, Victor Johansson beaten 4 times today. Has gone down as the Chamadou own goal, as I suspected it would. It was more of a cross by the looks of things from Mahovo. That deflected in. And whose corner? Tried something similar already. That was another threatening one. Dealt with by Duffy behind for the corner on the other side. He won't want it, but it will be an own goal for Chamadou. Piling on the punishment for the Potters. And won 2 of the previous 3 in the Championship. A significant setback in Norfolk today. Corner is comfortably cleared by the first line of defence. That was Kellen Fisher. And Stoke forced to retreat all the way back to Johansson. Chamady. Wasn't an awful lot he could have done about it, was there? Stoke have been partly culpable for some of the goals conceded today, but there was certainly an element of misfortune about that last one, that 4th one for Norwich. Much needed this for Norwich City, who had put together back-to-back wins against Swansea impressively here, 5 goals to 1, and then 1-0 winners at Watford on the first day of February, but just 2 further points have followed from 3 matches which on paper appeared winnable. Home games with Derby and Preston yielded just the 1 point, and then they came back from behind to earn a share of the spoils at Hull City last weekend.
26,267.
They've really stepped it up in the second half here to take care of business today, it would appear. There's that flag again. And it will be hard for Stoke City minds not to wander back to that moment when Baker put it in. It would have been 2-2. Instead, it's 4-1 Norwich City. And satisfaction for those two, certainly. No longer directly involved after over 20-odd years of service, but honorary life presidents at the club, Delia Smith and Michael Wynne-Jones. Still do have a minority shareholding, but it's Mark Atanasio who's in charge these days, who's backed them with a budget to try and help the club return to the promised land of the Premier League. Only stepped down from their roles as directors in October. After 28 years of involvement with the club. Mahovo. Cordoba. Chastening experience it's developing into now for Stoke City. Johansson, as the sweeper keeper, dealt with that smartly, had to. Sargent lurking in pursuit of a hat-trick. On the ball, City rings around Carrow Road. The mood very different to that as they headed in at half-time. Space again for Lucien Mahovo here. And that's a lovely ball for Sargent, who's denied the hat-trick by Johansson. Big stop. When it looked all set that Sargent would score again and claim that match ball. That might still come his way, but it's hard to see him getting a better chance than that one. Didn't do an awful lot wrong with it. Mahovo. Phillips able to cut that one out, but back under pressure as it came his way from Million Manhoof. Clever ball if Gallagher has stayed onside, and he has here, taking on Cordoba. Slight deflection on the shot, good save by Angus Gunn, who got down smartly on his near post. Gallagher with just the 1 goal so far of an injury hit first season with Stoke, since that move from Blackburn Rovers. Nearly had another. Well, there won't be a hat-trick for Josh Sargent, thanks to that save from Johansson, because his number is up here. Leaves the field as the match winner, though. with a second half double. The first of which at a time when his team were coming under pressure and looking in danger of conceding another equaliser. He provided the Canaries with a more comfortable cushion. Schwartau is on, and it's not going to be the only change. Boyasso's coming off as well. Norwich able to rest their stars with the outcome beyond doubt, with the exception maybe only of the margin of victory. And a nice moment this for Ruairi McConville, who will come on for Mahovo and make his Norwich debut. Mahovo playing his part today, not quite able to celebrate his first senior goal. He's replaced by Ben Chrisseny, who's been keeping out of the starting lineup of late. Chrisseny off the bench for the 5th time in 6 now. So Johannes Hoff-Torup ringing the changes at this stage inside the final 5 of the 90. Manhoef goes short with a corner for Stoke this time. He'll get it back from Baker. No way through for him, but that might change here with Moran. He's shepherded away from immediate danger. It's a good save, isn't it, from Johansson, spreading himself. Although Sargent might feel that he should have scored regardless. Probably only really because of the impeccable standards that he set himself in this second half. Because of that, you expected him to score. Wasn't straightforward because of the presence of Johansson in goal. So a little bit of a reshuffle from Norwich City after that triple change with the introduction of another defender. Conville is a centre-back really by trade, can play full-back. Brought in just before the transfer deadline from Brighton, for whom he was unused 8 times on their Premier League bench this season. Where's this going to fall? The referee saw nothing wrong with the challenge as Norwich wrestle the ball back. So Norwich debut for McConville, in the season in which he's already made his international debut for Northern Ireland, won his first couple of caps in November. Still only 19. Another of those Norwich signings that I mentioned, brought in for the long term, with the idea of developing both their career prospects, but also developing collectively with this team. If they fall short of the playoffs this season, the aim is very much to be in a position to launch a more strenuous challenge next time around. But many more days like this, and there could still be something more tangible for them at the end of this season. The key for the Canaries, and they've yet to find it, is stringing those results together. Finding that consistency. Manhoef's ball in, gathered up by Gunn. Mentioned it right at the start, when they win, they tend to win well. When they're good, they are very good. But there have been too many performances at the other end of the scale this season. And maybe not quite so much in between. This has been one of the good days, certainly in the second half for Norwich City. They're enjoying themselves at the conclusion. It is Stoke City that want the final whistle. Ben Slimani forward, looking for Chrisseny. Will settle for the corner. Was a regular earlier in the season before the emergence of Mahovo, having joined from Aston Villa in July on a 4-year contract. He himself is still only 21, 2 years the senior of Mahovo, with whom he's competing for that position at the moment. Not too many of the home fans heading out early. They sense there might be another one in this for them yet. Did put 5 past Swansea City here less than a month ago. I've seen disappointing home displays against Derby and Preston since then. This is much more like it for Norwich. .55 goals scored in the Championship season. Now only Leeds have managed more. There will be 8 more minutes. As we see it, the occasion at which Senna went down there off the ball. That's the reason for this latest delay. And there have been a few stoppages, haven't there, in this second half, which is why we have those 8 additional minutes. I don't think either team will be particularly happy to hear that. As the corner comes in, it's there to be struck. Had just gone out of play. Shortau who'd returned it. Dispiriting though, really, for Stoke City today, particularly given how they were in the game for long spells previously. Doesn't tell the whole story, but it is the only story that will be remembered at the end, and that could have significance for Stoke in their season. Now it's going to be about how they recover from it. Back in action on Tuesday night, actually, that rearranged home fixture with Middlesbrough. So although Norwich have a week until their next game, Stoke City with no time to reflect for too long on this. That might be a good thing. It's the first of 2 home games in a week for them, with Watford visiting the Bet365 a week today. Sorts of space for Ben Slimani. He's covered really good ground here, and it's Ben Slimani. Support from Chrissany. He provides the cross. Oh, it's over the top. How has that one stayed out? Shortau must have thought he was set to score. Everybody else did as well. Matters not really in the overall outcome today, but this is a big let-off. That's one of the most glaring misses you will see. Beautifully done in the build-up by both Ben Slimani and Chrissany. And the more you see it, the more you wonder just how he hasn't scored. Oscar Shortau, the 18-year-old, brought in from Bromby back in the summer. He's shown glimpses, certainly, of his potential over the course of his debut season in English football. But that is a horror miss. He can afford to smile a little in the circumstances. They're slightly more palatable when you're 4-1 up, but no forward will want to watch that one back. Kept in beautifully by Chrissany. He's slotted straight into the action, hasn't he? Here's Sorensen with the ball in towards Shortau. Well, they really should have matched the margin of victory that they saw off Swansea City with here. Plenty of positives despite that miss for Johannes Hoftorup's team today. But it was in the balance, wasn't it, for long spells this game. It's only really the last half an hour or so where it's turned into this one-sided story. Just a week on from what seems such a significant win against Swansea for Stoke. It's back to the drawing board, albeit on paper a much more daunting assignment for them. And that's the way ultimately it has proved. Stoke really do just want this full-time whistle, don't they? Now they've still got another 3 more minutes of this yet, chasing shadows. They finished 17 points, 11 places behind Norwich last season. The gap between them in the current campaign is growing again after this. Seko. Heavy touch from Gallagher, who felt he was fouled. Moran did win the ball back for his team. And now Ashley Phillips. Phillips actually has continued his run, the centre-back popping up in the right-wing position here and finding the pass for Million Manhoff, who skips his way through. Just couldn't get his shot away at the end, but he will get the penalty. A penalty to Stoke City in stoppage time. And they might just have the final say in the scoring after all. Academic in the overall outcome, but of frustration certainly for Norwich City, who continue the protest here. But John Busby was in no doubt. Got away from Wright, Cordoba came across, Manhoef got beyond him as well, and I think the contact came from Duffy. Yeah, there it is. From that angle, it looked more definitive. Well, Lewis Baker thought briefly he'd scored his second goal of the game earlier in this second half. That would have levelled it up. This one won't matter anywhere near as much, but he will get the chance. And Baker does score from the spot. It's a good penalty, right into the corner. No more than a consolation for Stoke City, but a second goal of the game and a third in 2 matches for Lewis Baker. And it's come against the odds, really, against the recent balance of play. If there was to be another goal late on, it looked odds on it would be Norwich City who would score it, but not so. The frustration, though, for those in red and white is that it has come too late. The frustration for those in red and white is that everything has gone against them at the other end in the second half in between. Scores 7 minutes into stoppage time, does Baker, to trim the deficit, but no more. Forward here, threateningly by Ben Slimani. Space for Christinet. Sorensen. That's the full-time whistle. Still comfortable for the Canaries despite the late stoppage time concession from the spot. They return to winning ways for the first time in 4 to close the gap on the playoff positions and leave Stoke City still looking over their shoulders. Josh Sargent with 2 of the goals. Closing in, isn't he, on Boyer Saints in the race for the Golden Boot after the recent run that he has been on. Scored 7 in his last 6 now. The 2 in the second half here were certainly significant. Big chance for the hat-trick as well. It was a big miss late on. It didn't prove too costly for Cernats and Norwich City. Saints had his say without getting his name on the score sheet. It was in the balance, this one, for long spells. Stoke were competitive until maybe the last half an hour or so, until Sargent took Norwich City clear. There was an own goal from Chamadou as well that made it 4. And Baker, who got the Potters back on terms before the break, scored from the spot right at the end, but not enough really to spoil their afternoon. Norwich City returning to their free-scoring ways at Carrow Road, and more importantly returning to winning ways. And it's a double for Lewis Baker that won't matter too much collectively for Stoke City in the context in which it came. There was another in between that was disallowed. That might have mattered more had it stood. Another of the major talking points in a match that certainly wasn't short of them. But it's Sargent that hogs the headlines at the end and takes centre stage, with Norwich City victorious here. Full time at Carrow Road. Norwich City 4, Stoke City 2.